Hi, this is Miss Litton, and now we are focusing on the specific glands and hormones of the endocrine system. And so you had a chance to go through and match. I hope you had an idea. Did you know some of them? Okay, good. So you knew them all? Perfect. So I tried to pick ones that you had from your ed puzzle. We're going to learn some more as we go through it today. So we're going to start off with the hardest one first. Okay, hardest one first. And we're going to talk about here in your hypothalamus is full-on brain, full-on nervous tissue is your hypothalamus. And it controls the pituitary gland that's right below it, which is full-on endocrine system. And this is where the nervous system and the endocrine system overlap. It's the most tricksy of all of them. Okay? And I want to explain it, make sure you have it. So I know these look like testes, but they're not, okay? It is your pituitary gland, and it hangs down below your hypothalamus in your brain. Now, where did the pituitary gland come from? The posterior pituitary, literally that gland during development descended down out of your hypothalamus. But your anterior pituitary gland came later, and it grew up and out of your mouth and then globbed on. And so the way the posterior pituitary and the anterior pituitary are controlled is different as a result of that. So let's take a look, kind of focus in here, and then we'll talk about the hormones. Okay? Do you remember how I talked to you about how endocrine glands secreting the blood, carried at a distance, and it affects some target tissue? Neurons right next to each other. But I brought up the idea, and can I get all eyes up front just so I can make sure that you're focused on this? There are things called neurosecretory cells that act kind of like a neuron cell, but they act also kind of like a gland. And this is what happens here. Extending out of your hypothalamus and down all the way into your posterior pituitary, because the posterior pituitary dropped down out of the hypothalamus, it's got a direct connection. And here, these neurosecretory cells from your nervous system make the two hormones that are secreted by the posterior pituitary, one of which you know, oxytocin. What does oxytocin do? Makes your baby come out and milk come out. Okay, so that's one you're already going to know. So you can see oxytocin kind of coming out of here on the side. The second one that is made by these neurosecretory cells and stored in the posterior pituitary until release is anti-diuretic hormone. So I hear in that anti-di. Yeah, you don't want to die. So what this one protects you, I don't know what you heard, but okay. What this one protects you from is it makes sure you don't pee too much. Now think about it. When you're peeing, what are you losing when you pee? Besides nitrogenous waste and all that, water. So this is anti-diuretic hormone. It impacts your kidney, and it helps you reabsorb more water so you don't become dehydrated, because if you lose too much water, you will die. Anti-diuretic hormone. Things that are diuretics don't make you pee less, they make you pee more. Okay? Caffeine is a diuretic. Makes you pee more when you drink caffeinated beverages. Alcohol is a diuretic. The reason why people get hangovers, okay, after they've been drinking, have I already told you this? The reason why people get hangovers and sick the next day as a result of their drinking, they pee so much because alcohol is a diuretic, they become dehydrated, and that's what makes them sick. When you turn 21, and if somebody forces you to drink a lot of alcohol, because you would know that would not be smart to get all those toxins into your body. But if you are 21, or if you have a parent or a sibling that drinks too much alcohol, before they go to bed, knowing that it's a diuretic, the alcohol, you can't undo that. The alcohol is in your system, it's a toxin, it's a poison, your liver's going to have to clean it out. What could you do to counteract what it does? Drink water. You get a big old cup of water, and before you go to sleep, drink through that cup of water to counteract your water loss, and you won't get a hangover the next day. It's all biology, okay? So that would be, in those extenuating circumstances where perhaps you drank too much alcohol when you're older, okay? Now, how about that? Okay, so hypothalamus, pituitary gland, direct connection. But I told you the anterior pituitary came up and out of your what? Mouth. It is not directly connected, eyes up front. It is not directly connected. And this is one of those situations where you have two sets of capillaries. Remember where we saw this before? Where did we see two sets of capillaries before? Yes, small intestines and the liver. Remember the hepatic portal vein? Okay. Here's another time where you have this. The hypothalamus, still nervous tissue, still controlling the endocrine system, it secretes releasing hormones, but these neurosecretory cells only reach as far as the stalk right here. So they don't get all the way down in here because it came later and globbed on. They only extend as far as the stalk, and they put in releasing hormones in the capillaries in the stalk of the pituitary. These releasing hormones travel into the blood to a second set of capillaries very, very close to it, a second set of capillaries in the anterior pituitary, and they come out. And they tell the pituitary cells, they're saying releasing hormones, releasing hormones, releasing hormones. Then the pituitary starts secreting what's called stimulating hormones. These stimulating hormones get put into the capillaries at the anterior pituitary and go everywhere in your body, and they stimulate different glands, like your thyroid gland, like your testes, like your ovaries, breast tissue, like your adrenal cortex. So this is where hypothalamus here is secreting a releasing hormone that gets as far as here. That gets carried in the blood to the anterior pituitary. Now the anterior pituitary starts secreting stimulating hormones. Double set of caps. So on your notes, go to introduction. The hypothalamus helps regulate the internal environment through the autonomic nervous system and the glandular secretions of the pituitary gland. The pituitary is defined as the master gland because it controls so many other glandular secretions. It's known as the master gland. Now, if I tell you the pituitary gland is the master gland, because as you look right here, look at all the other glands that it controls. It's the master gland. Who controls the master gland? What part of the brain? What did I just teach you? The what? Hypothalamus. The hypothalamus in your brain controls the master gland, who controls other glands. Okay? Yeah, it's not a true partnership, right? The nervous system has ultimate control, but it works very closely with the endocrine system, and this is where the big overlap is. So, the pituitary has two portions controlled differently by the hypothalamus. The post pit, the control is directly by the hypothalamus, who has neurosecretory cells extending into the posterior pituitary. And then I'm going to go over those hormones in just a minute. Whereas the anterior pituitary, go down to that box, the control is indirectly through two sets of capillaries. The first set extending into the stalk, it's going to have releasing hormones, and the second one is in the hypothalamus. All right, so now they're controlled differently. Can I have oldest bio buddy? Could you please pick either the anterior pituitary or the posterior pituitary? You explain how you're controlled, and then the other bio buddy will explain the other one. Go. Just how you're controlled.
If it's direct, it has effect. It is not though, because it goes through.
All right. Now we just need to learn them. Okay. So go to the post pit, the two hormones, oxytocin. Okay. Notice for oxytocin, they have two pictures: a breast and a uterus. What do the breast and the uterus have in common? Yeah, something's going to come what? Out of them. Good. So on oxytocin, uterine contractions for baby out, and milk release. Uterine contractions and milk release. All right, so that's oxytocin. Okay, so it's out baby, out milk. Okay, now the kidney, we already see this, ADH, and we already know what that means, anti-diuretic. It actually controls what goes out, right? Because anti-diuretic hormone, you don't have as much urine going out. It decreases, retains it, okay? So anti-diuretic hormone controls the kidneys, causing water reabsorption. All right, now let's go hit the anterior pituitary. Okay, the first one here, your hypothalamus will secrete something called thyroid releasing hormone. This thyroid releasing hormone will go in the stalk, it'll go down into the anterior pituitary, and then the anterior pituitary will secrete something here called thyroid stimulating hormone. What do you think the target tissue is? The thyroid gland. So now the thyroid gland is going to secrete thyroid hormone. Here's your example. We're going to come back to it in just a minute too of negative feedback. This isn't the picture I was telling you to go put there. I'll show you that in a minute. But as the thyroid hormone level goes up and up and up, it'll go and shut down both the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland from secreting, releasing, and stimulating hormone. Because you have enough thyroid hormone, so go shut down the hypothalamus and go shut down the pituitary gland for that hormone. Similar to if I was going to bake cookies, I set the oven at 375. I turned it to 375. The heating coils are going to go until the temperature reaches 375, and then that heat is going to create a negative feedback so that the heating coils don't turn on again. Okay? So on your thyroid, on your notes on that, the TSH stimulates the, what are you putting in the blank? Thyroid gland. All right, your next one on there is ACTH. ACTH is right here. It stands, there's a long name for that, adrenal corticotropic hormone. You don't need to remember all of that. What I do want you to see is that your adrenal gland consists of two parts. Okay? Two parts. Who was that?
It was that teacher.
Oh, okay. So it has two parts. Creeping out. Okay? Do you see how there's two colors in there? You see them? Okay. The middle part is called the adrenal medulla. And you're going to learn this one later, but you already know it. When you're in the middle of a problem, what hormone do you think you secrete? Adrenaline. Adrenaline is like fight or flight. This is going to come later. And noradrenaline is anger. Have you ever seen when a mom was scared about a kid and then they start yelling at the kid? Yeah. Okay? That's the noradrenaline kicking in. Don't tell the parent that because that just pisses them off. Okay? That's different. That's the adrenaline, and that's in the middle. It's lighter colored on the outside. That's the adrenal cortex. Adrenal corticotropic hormone affects the adrenal cortex. And the way I remember that is A in the name. It goes A, and then what's the next letter? C, adrenal cortex. These are glucocorticoids, mineral corticoids, and cortical sex hormones. We'll talk about that later. All you need to know right now is it stimulates the adrenal cortex. So on your notes, ACTH stimulates the adrenal gland. And then in parentheses, do I have it on your notes?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Prolactin, you already know that, right? Here's your first breast, here's your second one. Okay? If oxytocin made the milk come out, what does prolactin do? Produce it, good. So prolactin to stimulate milk production in mammary glands. All right, and now, okay, oh, whoa. Okay, and now we have another one, GH. What does GH stand for? Growth hormone. So growth hormone to stimulate bones and muscles to grow. FSH and LH, okay? FSH and LH, you don't need to know their long names. I'm going to tell them to you. It's follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. But what you need to know is they affect your gonads. What are the two gonads? Testes and ovaries. So FSH and LH to stimulate ovaries and testes. All right, let's see what we can remember. Like tilt your, reverse mast, reverse half mast so you aren't looking. Let's see if we can remember what each one does just right off the bat. Let's see how many of them. This is the one that has the most to learn. Oxytocin, is it in your head? Tell me. Milk and baby out, okay? ADH is going to affect your kidneys so you don't pee too much. Perfect. TSH stands for thyroid stimulating. So it's going to affect your thyroid gland, which we'll talk about in just a little bit. ACTH, we're going to focus on the first two letters. Adrenal cortex. Perfect. Prolactin, make milk. Good. GH, FSH and LH. Yeah, fish, sperm swim like fish. Okay, perfect. Good job. Now, if I say the disease diabetes, what are you thinking about? Fat people, okay. It is more common, okay? But what else? What are you thinking about? Regulating what? Glucose, insulin, okay? There is a different kind of diabetes. It's called diabetes insipidus. I can remember this one because insipidus, some water. You better sip some water, okay? Because look what's happening here. Here's a normal little boy. The pituitary gland secretes ADH. Checking, would that be the posterior pituitary or the anterior pituitary that secretes ADH? Post. Remember, it's all about outs. Baby out, milk out is oxytocin. That comes from the pituitary. And then the kidney out, what water is coming out? That's ADH, okay? So ADH to the kidneys helps control. So his urine is yellow because he doesn't have as much water in it. It's like normal urine. Over here, with diabetes insipidus, the pituitary gland doesn't make enough ADH. That's anti-die, so he could what? Die, right? The kidneys make a lot of urine. His urine is more copious. It's not as yellow because it's very, very dilute because he has all of that water in it. So he should insipidus some water. That's how I remember that one. All right? So go to diabetes insipidus. You have too little ADH is secreted, not enough water is reabsorbed. Okay, let's look at another thing. Blue, explain what's going on here. These are two grown men. No baby. There's not a baby.
Oh yeah, I've seen that. Like next to
Okay, so give me words that we learned today. How would you explain gigantism? Now give me a word.
I'm looking. Hold on.
Hyper secreting what? Growth hormone. In this case, we are so much. So on your pituitary dwarfism, you have too little GH. You could put hyposecretion. And for gigantism, too much GH. Now, do you see how I have the next letters in mini-meanus? See how it's mini-me? See how the letters are smaller?
Yeah.
That's because I'm doing it for support. I'm not having you memorize every disease I show you. Okay? I'm going to show it to you to expose you to it, though. Okay? This is called acromegaly. This is when your growth hormone continues to get secreted, not in your youth and that makes you really super tall, but throughout your entire lifetime. And so it makes bones grow that should be done growing. So you can see here, it's just like fairly normal, maybe a little bit Shrek-like. And it's just like a little more, is that mean? It's mean, right? That's mean, I'm sorry. She's not alive anymore. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that. Okay, so it's continuing to grow on her bones right here. And then here,
It's so true.
I'm the worst teacher ever. Okay, so this is acromegaly. Do you see it though?
Yeah.
I totally see that. I'm insensitive and horrible. Sorry. Okay, here's another
on the video.
Now look. I'm insensitive.
It's recorded. Nice video.
Okay, now look. Hypersecretion of adrenal cortex hormones due to a tumor. This poor little boy, just 4 months, yes, 4 months after he had that tumor taken care of. Look at him now. He's so happy. Okay, so that was all as a result of a tumor. Okay, all right. I have a question for you.
I did click the right one. C. Oh my god.
Do you keep saying clicker? Because I keep saying clicker. 2 questions.
I don't remember.
What is it?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
Your mom. Because his stomach doesn't. The baby's not in his stomach.
The baby's not in the stomach.
Okay, I want to end so we have time before class is out. Did you get 28 if you got it right? Super happy with you. The insulin and oxytocin do not cause stomach contractions. What's wrong with you? All right, and tall basketball players, giants and dwarfs, we just went over this. Too much or too little growth hormone. This is from the anterior pituitary. Only 16 of you got that one right. Be smart. I'll see you Tuesday. Make good choices. Have a piece of toast. Yeah, that's next.